Hello, hello. And yes, I am back here live. At least I hope I am. Yes, hello, everyone. It is wonderful to see you all today on a Wednesday. It's a very dark and gloomy day here in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. But at least, as I always say, regardless of the weather, let's just stay inside and sew. So, yes, I'm just waiting to see notifications. They always take a little while to show up that I'm actually live. Yes, I think I am live. Okay. There we go. Okay, talk about a delay. Yes, hello everyone. It's wonderful to see you all. My name is Michael Smith, the National Education Manager of Janome Canada. And yes, I'm back here live from my palatial estate here in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. I'm about 2 hours north of Toronto. So I am here in the Janome Canada Facebook page, Janome America, Janome Sewing Machines Facebook page, Janome Canada YouTube, and Janome America YouTube. So any platform we can share the Janome love. Oh, lovely. And my sister is here. Oh, and my dad is watching as well. Hello, it is wonderful. This is when I love technology is working, so we can all get together this way, because, my family lives far enough away. We don't get to see each other all the time, so this is wonderful how technology can bring us together. So, oh, and my niece is watching as well. Hello, it is wonderful to see everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. It is fabulous. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, again, as we're going into November already, can you believe it? More presser foot know-how. The lives that I did last month about various presser feet were very well received. Lots of positive feedback. People sometimes already have these feet and they just wonder, how do I use them? When do I use them? Or others, you see them all at your Janome dealer and you wonder, what are those feet? Why do I need them? Oh, well, I'm going to share with you more today. Do you perhaps want to sew on some non-traditional, we'll say fabric, but in this case, vinyl? Two different types of vinyl here. Is not really fabric. It's very dense, certainly synthetic, all man-made. But when we want to sew vinyl, I showed a little bit on this piping detail last week, was the piping foot. That is regular fabric covering that piping. But here, two different vinyls, but look at that beautiful stitching. Go ahead, examine that top stitching all that you'd like. And then this, oh, we can really see top stitching, just a cute little wallet, again, out of vinyl, hook and loop tape, again, beautiful little billfold here. But again, all that beautiful stitching. Look at all that beautiful stitching here. So if you want vinyl, leather, cork, here is some cork, so fun. Again, two different types of cork here. But so fun to make this little wrist wallet, for example, any sort of tote bag. Really, really super fun to use. Again, more that vinyl for like a shaving bag, for example. And again, all that beautiful top stitching there. Now, if you've tried to use some of these, again, non-traditional fabrics, vinyl, leather, cork, Ultrasuede, or some of this sticky, look at that beautiful glitter, but sticky vinyl, anything plastic even, you try to use that and your presser foot just does not want to move. That fabric just does not want to move under that foot. Well, I have a foot for you. Yes. So let's flip around here. And the foot I'm going to talk about today, once I flip around my camera, is going to be, ooh, there we go. Oops. My internet, there we go. I'm on the fabulous Janome Memory Craft 1000 again today. It is the perfect combo machine, sewing and embroidery, 7mm high shank machine. Lots of wonderful, convenient push button controls, like scissor button, needle up, down, lock button, stop, start, reverse, speed control slider. So great. As a beginner machine, you don't want to go too fast. You slide that down. Wonderful LCD screen so we can see what we're doing. We even have this little port here is for a knee lifter. It's not included with the machine, but you can get one additionally. So this is a great, again, combo machine aimed for beginners, but great if you want a second machine for a classroom, you're going south for the winter. Wonderful. So MemoryCraft 1000. And the foot that I'm going to talk about today is the fabulous Ultraglide foot. Now, again, I'm on the MemoryCraft 1000, so it's a 7mm machine. So very importantly, again, that little metal bar, this is what the pressure foot holder clips to snap on this foot. So here is my 9mm foot, for example, that same Ultraglide foot, 9mm. Now you see that bar is bigger, wider. The foot is also wider, but again, very importantly, so like this foot, this 7mm foot, for example, on the right, I could not use that on my 9mm machine. That bar is too small in this case. And this foot, I could snap it onto my 7mm machine, but I'd have all this movement. It's too big. So it's very important to get the correct foot for your machine, and your Janome dealer can help you with that. So this Ultraglide foot, a lot of people call this a Teflon foot. Teflon is a registered trademark by the DuPont company. And we think of the Teflon, you know, when we spray our frying pans with that Teflon coating so nothing sticks. This is a very similar compound. It's not Teflon, but it's a very similar compound for that ultra slick ultra glide of our, again, fabric, like our corks, our leathers, our vinyls, anything sticky. Now we can have even better visibility. Look at this. I just discovered the MemoryCraft 1000 machine has a little port in the housing of the machine to accept the optic magnifiers. Then there, we don't need them. They swing out of the way. We need them. Great visibility. There's 3 different, I'll say, degrees of magnification. And I know it's not degrees, but I forget the real word. There's a 20, this is the 40, and then there's a 60 magnification. So we can see our needle exactly where we need to thread it, or we need to see our stitching. So these optic magnifiers are fabulous. Again, swing them out of the way, or we can remove them like this. So if your machine has a little port up in the housing of the machine for that pin, you too can use this magnifier. I know, aren't these magnifiers great? And I sometimes use them just when I'm reading the back of the blister pack. For example, there is a Ultraglide foot. This is for the 1600p or the HD9 high-speed straight stitch machine. There is the Ultraglide foot for that. So there is an Ultraglide foot for every sewing machine out there. So even these optic magnifiers, I use them as cheater glasses, basically, to read the back of the blister pack, even when they're not in the machine. But they're really handy. So again, any Janome dealer. And I just discovered that today, so I thought I would share it. I love when I discover I can get more from my Janome machine. So check with your dealer what's available. So when we're talking about, again, this leather, this vinyl, cork, this slicky, you know, sticky vinyl fabric, then again, traditional presser feet, it doesn't want to feed as evenly. So instead, what you do is you get this fabulous Ultraglide foot, and here is just a piece of that vinyl. And then as a little tip, when we're sewing, not only with this foot, with vinyl, leather, cork, any of these dense fabrics, but in thicker layers in particular, we want to lengthen our stitch. Now here, so regardless of your materials, the thicker the layers, basically the longer the stitch, as a general rule. So here my stitch length is 2.4. So automatically, because I'm going through vinyl, thicker, denser fabric, I'm going to go up minimally to a 3.0. But in some cases, you do your little test samples here, and you'll see there was my 3.0 over here on the left. They're still quite tight. And on leather and some vinyl fabrics, cork, the more perforations in the fabric, the more you can tear it. So that's why, as well, your stitch needs to be a little longer. The S7 does indeed have a port for the optic magnifiers. All the Skyline machines do. So yes, you can use the optic magnifiers with any of your Skyline machines. So there is 3.0. So that's a little short, I feel. So in this case, this was 4.0. And this here in the middle, there was 5.0. Does that look like a really long basting stitch? In a normal one layer of fabric, yes, that 5.0 would be a long basting stitch. But here in our vinyl, it doesn't look that long at all because of the thickness, the density of this fabric. So let's just do our little experiments and find out what works best. So I always like to just do these little tests. Here we go. And you'll see with that Ultra Glide foot, this vinyl just slides under that foot like butter. It doesn't stick at all. Now, way back in the day when I studied fashion design, I graduated 30 years ago this year. Way back in the day, before these dedicated presser feet, we used to put cellophane tape on the bottom of our regular metal presser foot. And the problem with that is sometimes that tape would peel off and then we get all that gumminess on our fabric. That happened to me with one of the garments I was creating, and I was very miffed. So by having this Ultra Glide foot, we don't have to worry about taping our foot, doing anything weird. Look, it works just beautifully. Now, again, me personally, I find that that's a little small. I don't need it to be that small. So instead, that was again at 3.0. So instead, what I'm going to do, this is how you determine. I'll go up to a 4.0 and let's see how that works. This is how you determine what is going to work for your project. Don't discover when you cut out your project and then you start sewing. Don't discover it while you're sewing your good project. Maybe you're going to have to rip something else. In this case, oh, look, there is my 4.0. I personally prefer that much better. Now, in this case as well, this is just top stitching through my fabric. It is not holding anything together. It's not seaming anything together. So I think that looks beautiful. I did this whole, look at all this vinyl, all of this top stitching I did myself using the long quilting guide bar set that you can get also from your Janome dealer. This just clips into your foot holder, and then you can create whatever distance. I think this was about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, whatever distance. These go all the way up to 4 inches. So you can do all of your crosshatch quilting this way with the quilting guide bar that either came with your machine, or this was, again, the long quilting guide bar set that comes in a blister pack from your Janome dealer. But look, all on that vinyl. So because of all of this top stitching, I lengthened my stitch to go through all the vinyl. Then I cut it out. More of that piping, by the way, that I demoed last week. Again, nothing goes to waste. So it works really, really good. So you just experiment with your layers and your stitch length. Now, when I'm going to sew like these two pieces together, again, I need that longer stitch length. I'm going to leave it at 4.0. I need that longer stitch length to go through all of these layers. I now have these 2 layers of vinyl, and I'm going to sew with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and away I go. And again, now typically on these vinyls, they have, and the man-made leathers, that they'll have like a knit backing. So it's a little easier to sew because of that knit backing. So in this case, certainly the knit backing over the Ultra Glide foot, again, or under the Ultra Glide foot, is no problem at all. But now when I go to open this, again, beautiful, open this up. Now I'm going to top stitch. I'm going to hold down all these seam allowances because we cannot press these vinyls, leather, cork. We can't press them. So notice in any of your leather and Ultrasuede garments, for example, like everything is so beautifully top stitched on all of my shaving bags here. Again, all top stitch around the zipper, even here on this little tab that I did all this top stitching, because again, we can't press the seam, so we'll top stitch them. So when I'm going to top stitch, and I have 3 layers of vinyl under here, when I drop my presser foot down, you will notice, though, the presser foot is like this because all of those 3 layers are under my fingers here. Way at the back is where the foot is. So in order to help keep that presser foot level, so it has more contact with the feed dogs, there's many things that we can do, whether we're using this Ultraglide foot or not. When we're sewing thicker layers for tote bags, especially, and getting into some home deck projects, and even, again, garments, this is very thick now. So we can use things like this button shank plate that comes with a number of our machines. You'll see it's got a thicker side here, a thinner side. Now, this is what we're going to use when we sew a button on by machine. Very conveniently, oh, I've got thread everywhere. What a surprise. Very conveniently, boom, like that. And it would be like this in our machine. So we slide this button shank plate under the button, and then we do a little zigzag stitch back and forth in the groove. So it works beautifully. And then we pull this out, and this, we could pull this thread in and wrap it around the shank of the button, like there, the shank of the button. So this way, when the next layer of fabric, buttons over it, there's distance for that fabric to sit under the button. So this is what the button shank plate's original intended use is. Now, many people would call this a hump jumper, or there's many different products that are similar to this to help you get over these big humps. So particularly think about hemming jeans. So I can use this button shank plate. I'm just using the thinner side, the not as deep side here because my layers aren't that thick. But you'll see I'm butting it up to the back of the foot. So now my presser foot stays level. With my presser foot like this, there's not as much contact with the feed dogs. So therefore, our layers are not feeding correctly. When the foot is up like this, it's not your machine's fault. It's just engineering more contacts with the feed dogs to help the layers go through. Think of when we're driving up a hill. It doesn't matter how expensive your car is. You need to kick it into high gear. You need to put your foot on the gas pedal and get up that hill. You need a little extra oomph. So this button shank plate is going to help us with that little bit of extra oomph to get our foot level, to help us sew these layers together. So as I start sewing, oops, lower the foot. I love a machine that talks to me. So you see, oh, look how effortless that was. No problem at all. The button shank plate just kind of falls out on its own. No big deal. It works so well. And it comes with so many machines. Now, if yours did not come with a button shank plate, you can purchase it separately from your Janome dealer in a blister pack. No problem. Now, in this case, I'm going to run right off. If I had another big jump here, another big mountain to climb, there, I just invert the button shank plate, and this way I can stitch right off the mountain. I can go down the mountain this way, and then boom, my presser foot is level, no problem. So this will definitely help as we're feeding our thicker layers together. Look at that gorgeous top stitching. And again, because of that length, that 4.0, but it doesn't look like a long basting stitch. It looks really, really beautiful, very professionally done. So there, that's so simple to do. Now, on this little sample, you may see that little bit of wrinkling here. It was a 3.0 stitch length, and I got a little bit of wrinkling. But when I lengthened my stitch here to a 5.0, but that doesn't look like a big long basting stitch, does it? But it's the density. It's only one layer of this like stretchy vinyl, but this is a really dense fabric. So I found I got no puckering at 5.0. I got a little bit of puckering there at 3.0. So again, adjusting your stitch length can make all the difference in the world. Something else we may do with our thicker layers, I didn't need to adjust it for my layers here, but something else we might do to help our layers feed more evenly are presser foot pressure. This is the tension, the upper thread tension dial. A lot of people mistaking this is the presser foot pressure. This is the thread tension dial, if your machine has one. Sometimes they're automatic and they're adjusted on the LCD screen. This is our presser foot pressure dial. On the back of the machine, maybe yours has a little knob here, a little dial to turn. So in this case, my machine was set at a number 5 for average. If I have really thick layers, I can lighten this down. We need a lower number, less pressure on that presser foot, and that will help our thicker layers feed through more evenly. So again, you would just experiment. In this case, I was up at a number 5. So I would try first a number 4, and then I would do my sample, and then a number 3 and do my sample. And maybe that would be fine. Maybe I need to lower it to a 2. You never know. You just try. This is where we do all these little samples. We cut up all our little scraps, and we do these samples first. So, oh, hello. It is wonderful to see you all. Thank you so much. I certainly appreciate the compliments. It's great to see everyone. Hello, Christy. Thank you for joining me. So again, little tips like that can make all the difference in the world for your layers. Again, whether or not you're using this Ultraglide foot. Oh, hello. Sandy says, oh, from Wyoming, learning a lot. Oh, thank you. This is exactly why I love to do these lives. So something we could do as well. Now we've got this Ultraglide foot that'll help us when we're feeding the vinyl, in this case, under our foot. But what about here on the needle plate, on the bed of our machine? When we're folding over and we have, like in this case, vinyl down against the bed of the machine and vinyl on top. Now this can present, depending on your layers. In this case, oh, I'm doing pretty good. Again, my Memory Craft 1000 here definitely have some oomph behind it. So in this case, it is feeding my layers. Vinyl against the bed of the machine, just fine. Again, beautiful, beautiful top stitching. But if we notice we're having some trouble, in the old days, way back when I was in school, we used to take tissue paper and we'd have to make a little hole for our needle, but we would cover the bed of the machine in tissue paper so it was a little slipperier. We could also use, this is tearaway stabilizer. We could use some green painter's tape and stick it to the bed of our machine. And again, we'd have to make a hole for our needle. But this is what we used to do to keep the bed of the machine nice and slick. Well, now, forget that. We have the free motion glider. This is by So Steady. And Janome Canada, at least, is a distributor of these. I'm not sure about Janome America. They probably have something very similar if they don't have these exact free motion gliders. Now, these are wonderful. When I demo ruler quilting, free motion quilting, I always recommend these. This is another good use for it. Now, this is a sheet of Teflon. This is Teflon, registered trademark Teflon, yes. So what this is, it's a cling back. It's not sticky, but it clings with static. And it just clings to the bed of your machine. There is a hole here for your needle. So you just put that over your needle plate. And again, this, you just smooth it down. It just clings to the bed of your machine. When it is gets kind of linty and dusty over time, I travel with mine all the time and demo it a million times. So mine actually could use a little bit of cleaning. You just run it under cold water. The lint will come off. Just let it dry, and that will re-cling it. But it doesn't stick to the bed of your machine, so no trouble at all. So then again, we would just roll it out. If I had an extension table here, there is probably one available for this machine. I don't have one here, but there are extension tables available for almost every Janome machine out there. So double check with your dealer. So this will definitely help. Now this is a sheet of Teflon. So now when I do this, so I sew with my vinyl, my leather, my cork, under, and then this. Oh, and what I need to do first, because I see it's not moving, I got ahead of myself. What you need to do in this case, there is a hole here for your needle, but when you're going to use this free motion glider for your regular sewing, we need to, I'll take the foot away, we need to cut out where the feed dogs are. In my haste, I didn't do that. So again, we have to cut out a little rectangle for our feed dogs. Then I could use this free motion glider. As I tried to use it just as is, you see it covers up my feed dogs, so my fabric wasn't feeding correctly. So make sure that you cut that out first. Since mine is on loan from Janome, I better not cut it out. But that's what I would do. I meant to mention that before I started sewing. You have to cut out an area for your feed dogs. But this works beautifully on the bed of your machine. So it's that ultra slick surface on the bottom side. Now, for those who have a 9mm machine, like the Skyline S7, for example, there is the, whoops, I'll get the correct packaging. There is the Ultraglide needle plate and Ultraglide foot combo. These are for 9mm machines only. So Skyline machines can use this, Memorycraft 15,000, Skyline S9, 8200, 8900, all of those 9mm machines. It is the Ultraglide needle plate. It's the same needle plate as all of our other machines, but it is out of that extra slick surface. So the Ultraglide foot, the U foot, is included with that needle plate. Now, for our Continental owners, our Continental CM7, CM6, CM8, CM17, there is that Ultraglide needle plate, and the Ultraglide foot comes included with that there as a package. So again, we've got the ultra slick foot and the ultra slick needle plate. So that is an option depending on your machine. In our other, 5 and 7mm machines, we don't have that Ultraglide needle plate. So that's where I suggest either your old school techniques of the tissue paper or the tearaway stabilizer, or again, your free motion glider, which is a sheet of Teflon. You just have to make sure you cut out where your feed dogs are. So then that way you can use that free motion glider to help you feed your layers more evenly. So where, as usual, time is flying by. So again, where else? Oh, and I do want to mention one more thing, because so many things. So needle is the next part of our equation. So this is your needle. So we definitely want to lengthen our stitch, but the kind of needle we use is important. Would that be good to use for velvet as well? Oh, yes. I think, well, in general, this foot could be used for any kind of sewing. But yes, again, slicker layers to feed fabric more easily. Not specifically velvet, but just any times you need a little extra help, the free motion glider really helps too. So needle, this is your big needle here. We want a nice sharp point. So we recommend either the Janome red tip needle, which is a size 14. It has a nice sharp point. It has a larger eye, so we can use thicker threads, and it has a bigger shaft to it, so we can penetrate those layers of the vinyl, the cork, those dense layers through vinyl, cork, leather, Ultrasuede, all of that. Then anytime we want, again, thicker layers, then the nice sharp point of the size 14 really helps. Now, something that needle that I have in my machine right now is I also like to use the purple tip needles, which are also a size 14. So also, again, the thicker shaft and the larger eye. But the purple tip needles, they have a sharp point, but just before the eye of the needle, as we go from the sharp point, the purple tip needles flare out a little bit just before the eye of the needle. And that flare we refer to as a cobra head, if you think of a cobra snake. comes up and then flares out and then goes down to the body. So the purple tip needles, size 14, sharp point, but flares out just before the eye of the needle. And again, nice big eye and a nice thicker shaft, so it can go through all those layers. But the thing with that flared cobra head, it helps separate the fibers of the fabric. And in this case, again, very dense fabric. So that purple tip needle really penetrates all that density through all these layers. And my needle thread and my bobbin thread can intersect more readily. So it's very important to use the correct needle at the correct time. And there you see my beautiful top stitching and my beautiful top stitching. So very important that we use the correct needle for the correct time. So first, try your purple tip or try your red tip needle, size 14. I use these for 99% of my sewing. And this should probably be fine, but if not, if you notice you get any skip stitches, then try your purple tip needle with that flared cobra head. Again, it just separates the fibers of the fabric a little easier, so again, they can intersect more readily in the body of the fabric, so we don't see any needle threads on the bottom, we don't see any bobbin thread on top. That's what we prefer. And then lastly, very quickly, where can we find more info? Well, of course, check with our Janome dealers, and of course, Janome Canada YouTube, Janome America YouTube, Janome Life blog. Type in Ultra Glide Foot. You'll find a ton of blogs about it. But here, our presser foot workbook is a wonderful accessory to have in any sewing room. You first purchase the workbook, is the binder, and it is filled full of all of these relatively standard presser feet. They don't come with all machines, but these feet are available for almost every machine. So it's a really great resource. Again, a number of these machines, like again, the automatic buttonhole foot, even feed foot, certainly all machines come with that A zigzag foot. So all of these are described in the presser foot binder. But then there's more. You can get a specialty presser foot addendum, and oh look, there's the Ultraglide foot. So this specialty presser foot addendum, that talks about the applique foot, for example, which I demoed last month. The piping foot I demoed last week. Border guide foot, all of those extra feet that I have been demoing, they're all in here, specifically presser foot, specialty presser foot addendum. And now here on the ruffler foot, yes, I demoed that one. Ultra Glide foot. So there it is. Then they're talking about, here's the part numbers for our 5mm, 7mm, 9mm. There's also now the Continental machines. They take their own part numbers. So you really need to double check with your dealer. And our Janome accessories catalog, available on janome.ca, janome.com. And all these little tips and tricks and little notes on how to use this foot more effectively. There's this cute little project that you will make with some clear vinyl. So again, they just give you all the suggestions about your stitch length, needle position, everything. And then you can go on and make, this was an iPad cover that I made for myself. I had no pattern. I just decided how big I wanted to make it, had a pocket in here. Again, some leftover piping that I just added to the pocket. So simple to do. So all these little projects you can make yourself, and having the correct tools make all the difference in the world. So this Ultra Glide foot can definitely help for, again, leather, vinyl, cork, Ultrasuede. Definitely can make a big difference to your results. So that is fabulous. Thank you everyone so much for joining me. As always, it was a whirlwind of information, but I hope you found it all very useful and important. So I will see you all next week for another fabulous Janome Canada, Janome America's Facebook Live. And what am I going to talk about next week? As a little hint, something to do with sewing knit fabrics on your sewing machine. In Janome Canada, we have a whole big bra making primer coming up with our maker, Caitlin from All Bodies Custom Lingerie. And Caitlin is going to go over in a live presentation coming up in a couple weeks. And there will be a project on our Janome Canada Inspire tab all about foundation garment sewing, making a bra specifically. So with all that slinky knit fabric, so my live next week, I won't be making a bra, but I'm going to be talking about sewing knit fabrics and the different presser feet and stitches we could use with that knit fabric. So I will see you all then. Have a fabulous day. Bye.